All right, everyone, I'm Dave Mormon, the host here at the HSBC podcast. And on today's episode, I've got my friend Tom Rebar coming in to drop some serious wisdom on you about how to actually grow a home service business. And here's the cool thing about Tom. Tom was one of the OGs to the coaching game in the home service space. He's built up an organization called The Contractor Fight, where he's now helped thousands and thousands of home service entrepreneurs build a real business that can function without them. And I've been able to learn a lot from Tom in my years of following him. And so it was a super big treat to be able to bring him onto my show here, the HSBC podcast, and have him drop some wisdom all about the lessons in scaling, and not just his own journey, but also members that he's coached as well. Get ready to take some notes on this one. Tom is a real hard-hitting, hard-charging entrepreneur. And I like about Tom, he just calls it how it is. And so I think you're going to enjoy this one. Enjoy my sit down here with Tom Rebar. All right, y'all, welcome to the Home Service Business Coach podcast. I have Mr. Tom Rebar in the house, who we're going to be deep diving today, a lot of gold nuggets. So there's going to be some writer downers, I call them, Tom, on this one. So Tom, welcome to the show, man. How are we doing on this Friday?
Hey, I'm doing great. I appreciate you having me, man.
Yeah, man, I've been watching your stuff a long time. You work with a lot of kind of grizzled contractors, home remodelers, chuck in the trucks, and you teach them to turn around their business, turn around their life. And I wanted to kind of get you on the show, man, because I love when you talk. You don't kind of sugarcoat stuff. You're just like on the disc chart, man. You strike me as a high D, or just like, boom, this is how it is. And I know our listeners love that. So I can't wait for our convo today, man.
You nailed it. I'm as high D as they come. So it's I got high D, high I, and virtually no S or C. So it's
That's awesome, man. Well, let's get started, man. I always like to kind of give context to the listener. Particularly, we love bringing people on who've come up in the trades. And like, I just want to give you the mic and give the listeners some context about Tom, how you got your start in the home services industry.
Yeah, so it's, I grew up in a family of contractors. My dad was a tile guy, my uncle was a painter, my grandfather was a painter. I just grew up working for them, because that's what you do. Probably, I don't know, then I went into the Marine Corps. I got out of the Marine Corps, worked for my uncle for a little longer, running, one of his crews. And a couple of years later, I decided to go out and see what else was out there. And I ended up selling nails to carpenters on job sites for a year or so. And then it was outside of Chicago, and I just saw, it was early 2000s. I saw just the crazy amount of building that was happening and opportunity. And I'd never once in my life thought about starting a business. Then one day I woke up and I just was like, hey, I think I'm going to start, a company. So I bought a ladder, or I bought a van for my uncle, beater van it was like one of those Econoline 350s or whatever they were, that he had ripped out the inside and put some shelving in it. And I bought that for $1,100, and he threw in a 24-foot ladder for me, and I was in business, man. So it was, and came out of the gate really hard with sales. I sold just under $1 million my first year, but I didn't make any money because I didn't know the math. I didn't know how to make money. I just sold, and I was pricing my work on the going rate like so many new guys do. And once you start realizing what your real numbers are and all that shit, you quickly, hopefully you turn it around quickly. So I just started charging what I was worth. Couple years later, I partnered up with another painting contractor, and we built a company that we did, 400 or so projects a year. And then I sold that to him in early 2012. And I stayed on for a few months as a sales guy with him just to help with the transition. And then I didn't know what I was going to do, so I started, I was really doing nothing. And somebody tapped me on the shoulder, asked me to speak at some event for entrepreneurs. And I did. And somebody else tapped me on the shoulder, said, hey, do you do coaching? And I said, what's that? I mean, I knew what it was. We had hired coaches in the past, but I never thought about it. And then I ended up coaching somebody, and that just turned into what we have now, which is the Contractor Fight, where, I think we serve somewhere between 2,500 and 3,000 contractors a year through our
Wow.
programs. And, we've got, I know guys like you are on my heels, but for a while there, I was able to say we've put out more free, helpful content than anyone on planet Earth in this industry. I still think we have the edge on everybody, but
I'm sure.
everybody, since I started doing it, there's 1,000 more
Yeah.
contract coaches, there's 1,000 more podcasts, there's
Yeah. Yeah.
like that. So people have, um, just like any industry, right? There's usually a lot of
Yeah.
competition, and so we're always looking for ways to stand out and bring
Yeah.
value that others might not be. And so we're super proud of the work we're doing here. We have a great team of coaches, great support team, and all that stuff. And we're just grinding away, hoping people stop stealing from their families, man.
I love it, man. Thanks for the full intro there. On the coaches front, you're one of the OGs in the game, which is why I wanted to bring you on. And I also, man, I love your story that you started this with nothing, right? It wasn't some big investment. And you're also, man, you're not this like 17-year-old kid coach selling a course of some hypothetical bullshit strategies. You like literally did this, you've helped people do it, and now you've been on HGTV. Like it's just like so cool. I think people buy into that authenticity of who Tom is, the brand you've built. So just wanted to say, I think to me, that's what stands out is, these young kids, your bullshit readers going kind of off. Something doesn't seem right, but with you, you did it, you grew it, you systematized it, you sold it, you grew your coaching business now. So it's cool to see you run the base path, man.
Yeah, well, about 6.5, 7 months ago, I started another painting company in Colorado Springs because I'd been out of the game so long, and I believe that there's a few reasons I did it. One of the main reasons is I got tired of sharing what I used to do.
Hmm.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
You get out of you sell your business, you're out of the trade, you're out of the, and for, I have a speaking business and a couple other things, but like as far as a contracting business, I was out of it, for 12 years or so. So I got tired of telling what I used to do, and I wanted to have stories to tell what I'm actually doing. And then the other thing is I started it to be the ultimate case study for what we teach in the contractor fight.
Amazing.
I'm just implying the things that we coach people on and train them on.
Yeah.
And I'm not using any of my team and resources and money from outside of it. It's totally self-funded. I started with, like a $5,000 limit on a credit card, like a lot of guys
Yeah.
do. And, our first 4 months, 3.5, 4 months, we did about 200 grand at this, 55% gross profit. And,
Great.
and we're about 6 months in, and we're humming along, and I'm looking to hit the $1 million mark by the 1 year anniversary in July.
Amazing.
But dude, I'm not doing anything special. I'm just doing what we coach. It's
Yeah.
really that simple. You block, you tackle, you win ball games, and that's what we're doing. And so I just contractors are my people, and
Yeah.
I love just I'm probably sick in the head because I didn't need to start this other company, but I did.
Yeah. Well,
And
yeah, I think it's like you're probably at a point, man, in your career that what you do, like obviously money to prove a profit model, but it's not like you need this business to like
right.
fuel your family or something. It's probably more of a passion project of like you've got thousands of people looking up to you and you're like, cool guys, let's just do this in real time and get a videographer to document the journey.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's great marketing, but it's also just a great proof of concept that, hey, in 2025, like this is what's up. So I think that's cool, man. To your point, let's get into, I want to kind of hit on a couple big mistakes because it's just like, you're not just coaching Josh or Bill here. This is like at scale. And I know there's a few big screw ups contractors make. Do you mind just starting with one big pitfall if you had to look at the last 13 years of the contractor fight, you building this? What's like full stop number one? 80% of our listeners right now, Tom, you're like, you guys are screwing this up.
Yeah. There's a few things. One of the first things that came to mind is, we undervalue ourselves. We all have stories we tell ourselves about what we're worth and money and how much is a lot of money and what's not a lot of money. And if you're not careful, you take some of those negative beliefs into building your own business, and it really stunts your growth. And I said it earlier that I made the mistake so many make is that, you price your work based on the going rate, and what are other guys charging? What I found, all these years in the fight, working with thousands of contractors is 90% or more of contractors don't know their numbers. So why the hell would we base our pricing on anyone else's math? You know, you don't know
Yeah.
somebody's overhead and you don't know their goals for the business. Like Simplify Painting right now, I don't take a paycheck, you know, so I can I can still hit my margins because I don't, you know, and I can be less money than somebody else. Not that I'm
Sure.
lowballing, I'm certainly not, but it's like, I don't have to eat from this business. So for somebody to base their pricing on what I'm doing is ridiculous. That is kind of the
Yeah.
example, right? You know, I had a friend years ago who ran a really good painting business and he was always less money than me. And I'm like, dude, how you doing this? And just as an example for people, and he'd probably be 20% or 30% less than us in every job. And we ran into him all the time. We were good buddies. And finally I saw him one day, I said, dude, what's the deal with your pricing, man? You know, like you just seem like you're low. And he says, well, I'm doing over a 50% gross margin, but I'm only putting 100 grand in for myself
Mhm.
because his wife was a surgeon. She
Wow.
made
Yeah. So
good
she's
bucks.
killing it. Yeah.
And the whole reason they started his painting company was whatever he made from it went into their investment account every year.
Mm.
So he had a different goal. So that's what I said. Like you just
Yeah.
never know somebody's story. So that's one big mistake. Another one is probably one of my biggest pet peeves is when I see somebody who not you and I both run a coaching company, and you know you get objections just like any other business, like will
Mm.
this work for me, and you know
Yeah.
what's the guaranteed ROI,
Yeah. What's the
all that
guarantee?
shit,
Yeah.
right? And this has been this has been rolling around in my head for at least 5 or 6 years, and I think it's pretty accurate that what bothers me is the real issue is they don't trust themselves to do the disciplined, consistent work that it's going to take to win at the levels they want to win. And if you don't go into something trusting yourself, trusting the process, trusting those who went before you, you're not going to win as much because you're going to half-ass it.
Yeah.
So I just think, you know, to those listening, you gotta trust. You like, you know, it doesn't matter what kind of screw up you were in the past. You have a decision today to be different, to be disciplined, to be consistent, to do the hard shit, to do the boring stuff, and to stick with it long enough to see the results. So I want to encourage you to trust yourself. You have what it takes. You can do this. And you know, I mean, I have I think I have it right here. Where the heck is it here? You'll get a kick out of this. So
Yeah.
literally, there's a guy today that, you know, was DMing me about one of our programs.
Yeah.
And I just said, I said, hey, because he's wanting to line up everything perfectly before he starts. And you
Yeah.
know,
Which doesn't happen.
it
Yeah.
doesn't happen. And I just said, I get you wanting everything line up before you jump in. But what I've learned coaching so many contractors, the ones who win don't wait for the perfect setup. They make a
Yeah.
decision, they go all in, and they figure it out along the way. And if making this call feels heavy or complicated right now, then it's probably not a sign that this isn't for you. You
Nice.
know, like I am not, we do a ton of sales training and I've been selling for years. And what I've found is if I have to twist your arm, or I don't like the word manipulate because that has
Sure.
negative spin to it. That's not what I mean. But if I have to like talk you in to
Yeah.
getting coaching, don't fucking join my program. Like I
Yeah.
want you to be fired up to do it. I want you to be on like lit up. Let's go. I am
Yeah.
all in. Burn the boats. So
Yeah.
that's a pet peeve of mine when somebody doubts that they have what it takes. Um,
How does someone, let's play devil's advocate, man. How does someone build that into themselves? Like, because I'm
mhm.
guessing when you started with $1,100 in a shitty van, you didn't think you're like can go and sell a $10,000 job to Mrs. Smith. Like, is it just years in business, or how does someone build that confidence in themselves?
Well, when you talk about selling the $10,000 job to Mrs. Smith that I sold for 5 grand,
Yeah.
right? On the financial side, what wakes you up is you start job costing.
Yeah.
That's it. People are like, how do I know my numbers? I'm like, just job cost your last 5 or 10 projects and let the
Yeah.
data tell you the story.
Mhm.
And often that right there for so many guys, when it comes to pricing, turns it immediately.
Yeah.
Like you look and you're like, we charge this, I spent this, I got this left, then we have our overhead, and then I got this left, I got
Mhm.
nothing,
Yeah.
you know? And so at that point you go, I'll keep doing that, which is insanity, or I can change it. On the confidence side of things, you know, you grow through experiences. That's where you gain wisdom, the ups, the downs, and things like that. So if you're sitting back waiting for the conditions to always be perfect, you're probably not going to grow in your confidence because you're not going to take any risks. You're not going to take any shots. I mean, right now, I mean, one of our programs is like $8,000 a year. It's fucking nothing. It's cheap as hell. It's too cheap. And I'm always yelling at my team. I'm like, we got to double the
Yeah.
price.
For what you
And
get, it's super cheap. Yeah.
yeah. And so you're not ever going to, everything's not going to always be lined up. And you just got, business is nothing more than solving problems every day. And, if, for whatever our program ends up being, $20 a day or something like that, you're going to tell me that you can't go all, I mean, think of all the money,
Yeah.
all of you listening to this, because I'm one of you, the money we waste on a daily basis, driving to a client, burning gas and time that's not a good fit for us because our sales process sucks. We spend stupid money on marketing that doesn't work because we don't track our leads and actually create a real strategy. We
Yeah.
burn through, waste money hiring bad people because we don't have a system in place to hire kick-ass FWs, as we call them, right? So, you're already spending the money. Like you said, your program's 10 grand, right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So I guarantee you, somebody listening to this that's on the fence about joining your program, whoever you are right now, you're already spending the 10 grand.
Yeah. In their business on some frivolous expense that a coach could uncover 100%.
Yeah. So you're not, so I think you want to grow your confidence. You just got to honor the commitments that you make to yourself, seek out the hard shit, look for ways to get uncomfortable and push yourself, because that's the only way you grow, is to push yourself.
Yeah. I love it. I got one more for you, man. I've been chatting to a colleague of mine. He's an accountant. And I know you're a big guy, man, on that 50% gross profit. So for listeners, if we got a $5,000 paint job, 2,500 can go to paint and pay your painters. No more than that. We need 2,500 bucks left from that job to power it. He tells me, Tom, he's seeing landscape companies be okay at 30% gross profit. I'm like, have you seen that in your role, man? I personally think it's a dangerous slippery slope going much lower, but have you seen exceptions to that where you're like, hey, actually listeners, in this industry, we've seen it cheat that 50%, or do you just go industry to industry, lock it at 50, don't screw around?
Yeah. So 50%, the reason we pound that drum so much is, again, 95% of contractors don't know their numbers and they're struggling with money. So we found the fastest way to solve the immediate financial suffocation problem is, if it costs you $1 to produce, charge at least $2. That is going to make you money right away. The longer you're in business, as you're building your brand, you're dialing in your numbers, you're learning more, you might find that your sweet spot is like a 42%.
Sure.
Okay. Like, it's totally okay. If you're going to sell a job at a 30, do it intentionally. Meaning, this could take half a day to explain. I'll try to do it quick. So usually with a whiteboard, right? So like if your overhead is, say, 20 grand a month, all right, it's 20 grand a month, and you have a project and you bid it and say it's going to cost you, I don't know, 40,000 to do the job, right? I'm just making up numbers here. So 40 grand. Sure. At a 50% gross profit, you double that and charge 80 grand for the job. You'd have 40 grand, which is left basically 2 months of overhead.
Yep.
Well, one of the strategies I've always used is, like, my in-house painters, we always sell and produce at 50 to 60%. And then based on schedule, capacity, the level of risk or difficulty on a job or whatever, if I have a bigger job that comes along and I could bring in one of my bigger subcontracting teams and sell it at a 33%. So in this case, 40 grand of overhead times the job is 40 grand cost.
Yeah.
If I sold it at 60 minus the 40 produced, I have a whole month of overhead right there that I produced in addition to what my other guys were doing.
Yeah. Right.
And so there's not like there's a ton of companies that are very successful at a 35% gross because their labor costs are lower, or their overhead is super low, which again is, you don't know these things, but we just preach 50 because, number one, you're going to get paid. Most people come to us because they lack oxygen.
Yeah.
And they're tired of robbing Peter to pay Paul. And so one of the fastest ways to fix that
Mhm.
is 50. But as you stay in, I strategically price every single project.
Mhm.
So I look at it based on, what we've done this month, where are we
Sure.
on overhead recovery. I mean, the
Yeah.
faster you can recover your overhead in the month, the rest of the month, every bit of gross profit is gravy,
Yeah. Totally.
So I mean, we've had months where, we've sold and produced our whole month at our over and recovered our overhead in 2 weeks. And then those other jobs, every single dollar over what it cost me to do it is literally net profit at that point for the month.
Totally. Yeah.
So again, but this just comes with time in the game and being a student of the game. A lot of guys are craftsmen, craftspeople,
Yeah. They're trades guys. Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
great. I respect craftsmanship, but I want to encourage people, start being a craftsman when it comes to being a business owner. Be a business craftsman. And
Nice.
that's the shit that we're talking about today.
Love it, man. So pricing, like I love that you hit that one first, man, because we can't even chat hiring or marketing today until that pricing's actually figured out. So those on the call catching this, like review your numbers, have that 50% GP as a target. Because at Tom, you say it, you could patent it, man. You got to get oxygen. You see it on
Yeah.
all your stuff, man. That's the biggest thing. Let's assume, man, that gets locked in. I want to land the plane on a big topic 2025 in marketing. Okay. You got your painting business rocking. You got thousands looking up to you. What's working today, Tom, for marketing, for getting that phone ringing with projects?
Well, my new company is a new brand. Or a new
Okay.
company, which means I don't have an established brand yet, right? The longer you're in
Perfect.
business, the more you have a brand, the more you're known, you have referrals and shit. So the first 6, 8 months or so, we're doing a lot of ad spend. Number one, personally, right now, our biggest ROI is Facebook ads. And I'm running them myself. I hired an agency. They screwed the pooch. I fired them after 3 months because the results sucked. Because I'm
Yep.
looking
Sounds
at
about right.
I spent 12 grand and got a $3,000 job and only 17 leads in 3 months.
Now you're like, give me
I,
that back.
I start running my own. I'm sitting on my couch one day and I'm like, let's see what happens. I'm going to just do this, right? I ran an ad. I just recorded a quick video, posted the ad. I think I ran it at $50 a day for like a week. And within 3 or 4 days, we sold like 10 or 12 grand.
Man, there
Just
you
like
go.
that.
Hey everyone, little break in the show for you. I want to tell you about our brand new HSBC Accelerator program. And our team is so excited about this because this is a specific program for the smaller businesses not quite ready for our scaling blueprint coaching program. So if right now you own a home service business and your revenue is between $0 and $20,000 per month, the Accelerator program is going to be a great fit for you. And when you come in and join us, we're going to start you in our marketing mastery module. And that is literally an A to Z breakdown of how I generated over 11,000 leads with my very own exterior cleaning company, which has recently been acquired. And so that's where we're going to start. It's going to be all marketing for your business for the first month. And we're going to layer in coaching calls as well as community with these templated systems that you'll get your hands on. So I'll leave you with this. We are promoting this new program for our first founding members. We're giving a pretty sweet deal too. So you can go ahead and check out the link below. And I look forward to seeing you on the inside of the Accelerator program.
And so the other big thing for me, and before this call here today, I had a meeting with a remodeling contractor that I had reached out to and started building a relationship with a couple months ago, and now we're ready to work together. And so I picked up a few interior designers where I just go in and I introduce myself, and I'm sure you got a painter. Never hurts to have a plan B. I just design stuff. I thought, and I paint stuff. I thought we might need to know each other, and that's it. And I just do that. So that prospecting, relationship building, and ad spend. Now, the other thing that we're doing now, from day one, we were doing this, and I've done this in all my companies. This is how I built the contractor fight, is through content. And so, but content is a long game. It's not like you write a blog and you post it and you get a lead, right? So we're doing, we're going to have 100 blogs posted on the website by the end of June. We're at like 30, 35 now, something like that. I know we got 4 or 5 in the queue that are getting posted in the next, week and a half here. The more content that you create, the more you position yourself as the expert in the industry. So in my old painting company, if you typed in anything that had to do with house painting, we came up like 5 out of the 10 or top organic spots on Google with our blog posts. And when somebody's scrolling, they're like, damn, simplify painting, simplify painting, simplify, like that sends a message like you're for real. And so I've sold millions and millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars in all the different businesses I've done just through creating content. But most business owners, most contractors, like, well, fuck that. I don't want the lead 8 months from now. I want,
I need it today.
Right. And so that's where prospecting and ad spend comes in, calling your past customers. That's a gold mine. Just stay in touch, show that you care about them, love up on them. But what I found is, the more you create content, you will get to a point where, because I've done this several times, your phone will ring off the hook just from the content you've created.
Yeah.
You just have to, do it.
It's a tough message though, Tom. Like I find in helping these guys is like the compound effect. It's like, it's not very sexy, right? I want to get in shape yesterday. I want a healthy relationship yesterday. Like I think the business is just the same way. Like you're doing it right now, you're not pulling a paycheck from your painting business. You just want to what's the word? Delay the gratification. And I think that's something, it's not sexy on social media. Like if you want leads, you're like, let's plan to get leads in 8 months and build a real brand properly, right? It's a tough thing, I think, today for people to swallow. Like it's just going to take months and years.
It takes years to build a brand. But when you build a brand, your marketing spend goes down. The more content you create, the more videos you make, the more you speak at the local, Chamber of Commerce meetings, and all these things work together. And the root of this issue is this. It's also one of my other big pet peeves of your work speaks for itself, but only to a point.
What do you mean with that?
So a lot of guys are like, I don't do any marketing. I've been in business for 45 years and it's all word of mouth. And I'm like, yeah, that's why you're still fucking working at 70.
Yeah.
Okay. Because
true.
Think it's all about, of course, word of mouth is the best lead. Of course, I would love the 600 leads a year I need to come into this thing to be all word of mouth, right? All of us do that. But everybody sits there and they're like, I want to scale my business, but they won't invest in marketing. They refuse to get fanatical about marketing their business. And so, like, we'll do the math. Like, we'll pick one of your clients here. So somebody's got a business, they want to do 500 grand in sales.
Perfect. Yep.
Right, let's just pick that. What's the average job size?
For us, like, let's call it $2,000. A lot of these guys are pressure washing, Tom, cleaning houses.
All right. So they need 250 jobs.
Perfect.
Average close rate.
40%, 50%. Yeah, 50%. Honestly, if a guy's a good sales guy, gets to see the customer, they can close 1 out of 2. 500 estimates.
All right. So that's 500 divided by, if somebody's in a seasonal area, in Colorado, you're not pressure washing in the winter months.
No, maybe 8 months a year.
8 months divided by 8. You got to have 62, 65 leads a month, you guys, which is 2 a day.
Yeah.
If you're not doing that, then you're not going to win. Okay. Now, as you raise your gross profit, by the way, so instead of a $2,000 job, a $2,500 job, say, you'll need less jobs and less leads. Okay. But when you're priced low and your GP isn't high enough, you actually need more jobs and more leads. But if you're not fanatical about lead generation, if you're not willing to invest in it and track the shit and all that other stuff, you're just going to be spinning your tires. So you have to be fanatical about leads like you are about breathing every day, because that you don't have a sale without a lead.
Yeah.
And so, in all of my companies, we have an expectation that we ring the cash register every single day of the week, 7 days a year, 365 days a year.
I love that. Even Christmas Day, get paid.
Dude, I've closed deals on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. Like, I'm DMing people. I'm following up with people. I'm all that stuff. And I expect that from our team. We're just bringing on a new sales guy for Simplify. He starts in a couple days.
Nice.
Our PM has a sales quota as well for upsells. Like, you have to It's about creating a culture that we are a marketing and sales organization that just happens to paint shit.
I love that. I love it.
So
One last thing, man, I want to hear you on is we hear the terms work-life balance, and this is a tough one for me. I kind of want to hear your take on it, because looking at your IG, man, you're happily married, you're hitting happy hours. We look at Tom, people look at me, oh, you seem like you got it figured out, but can you address like the new entrepreneur coming up, first 2 years of business? Does work-life balance exist? And two, what have you found over your career to make sure that the business doesn't steamroll all the shit you got going on in your personal life?
well, my approach now that I have used for years and that we coach everybody on is very different than what it used to be when I was coming up.
Yeah.
Like probably, and I can only speak to the men because I don't know the mind of a woman, right? I
Yeah.
know there's women business owners that are listening to this, and I can only give the guy perspective. As a man, I believe most men were wired to be providers, take care of our families, to work our asses off. I guarantee you, anybody listening to this, hard work is not your issue.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, you know how to work. So, all in the name of providing for our families, we bust our tails, we work our asses off, we burn the candle at both ends. We never have any downtime. You tuck the kids into bed, and then you're off doing paperwork and typing up bids and all that other bullshit and whatever. You know, somebody wants to meet on a Sunday at 4 o'clock to do an estimate. You're like, yeah, I'll run out there and interrupt my family day or whatever it is, right? And we do that with good intentions. Okay. But what we don't understand, what I didn't understand, is I was actually stealing time, money, and memories from my family because I was putting the business first. And I know you asked about balance. I'll get to that in a minute. But through the years, last decade or so, decade and a half or whatever it's been, I now operate from, I want you to imagine taking a rock and dropping it into water, into a pond or a pool. Where the rock hits, that's that first ring, right? That first ring of the ripple, we call that a strong you. You got to work on you first. Get sleep, eat right, stay off the sauce, exercise, those things, right? The next ripple out, we call strong home. And then the third ripple out is strong business. And so
Nice.
I believe your business will only be as strong as you are at home, and your home life will only be as strong as you are as an individual, right?
Yeah.
So what we do, I actually don't believe in balance. Balance is stressful to me. When you say the word balance, my mind, I picture a guy on a tightrope trying not to lose balance, and he's doing this the whole time. He's adjusting back. That looks stressful to me, trying to have balance. I look at it more like a seesaw or a teeter-totter, where like when I'm working out, taking care of me or whatever, I'm fucking all in. I'm not answering DMs from work. I'm not half-assing it. When I'm on date night with the queen or with the kids, like I'm all in on that. And when I'm at work, I'm all in that. And the key is communicating to your spouse, your family, those types of things that like, if you're going into it, like we're going into the spring right now, everyone's phone's going to start blowing up. This is the time to have the conversation with your spouse. Like, hey, this is going to be a season of whole assing business because we only got so many months to produce. Now, that being said, that doesn't mean you blow your family off and your workouts and stuff. But what it means is when you sit down, I sit down every Sunday morning. It's my routine for the last 20 years. I sit down, I plan the week. I put me on the calendar first. Nice. When am I working out? What am I doing in those workouts? When am I going to go to sleep? What time am I going to get up? Okay. What am I going to eat? Like now I'm lucky because my wife knows what I eat now and she just makes me eat it. So
that's great.
Box is checked. I've outsourced that thinking, which is great.
Nice work.
Okay. The second thing I put on there is connection times with my wife.
Yeah.
Now, we're empty nesters. We have 5 kids are all at the house. So I know it's a lot easier than those of you that listen to this that have little ones running around. I've been there. We have date time every day. It could be 15 minutes for a walk. It could be taking a bath. It could be actually going out. It could just be shooting the shit and hanging out and, whatever it is, but we put it on the calendar. Then I put work on there. Okay. In that order. When for so many years, I had it flipped. I'd put all the work shit on there, and then I'd try to fit me and my family in between the spaces. And
Nice.
so, I know some people are like, yeah, balance is a thing. I don't think it's a thing. To me, it's just stressful trying to
Yeah.
find balance. Because that means everything is on equal footing when it's not. Like when
Yeah.
I'm at work, I'm all in.
Mhm.
Like I'm here with you right now. I'm
Yeah.
there's nothing going on, right?
Yeah.
I'm not checking. The only time I have to grab my phone is to do the calculator thing we were
Yeah.
doing, right?
Totally.
And it's been blowing up, but I'm like, no, because I'm here. And this is about, one of my coaches, he always talks about be where your feet are.
Nice.
When you're home, be home.
Mhm.
Now, if there are times where, you'll have to say to your spouse, like, hey, I got to wrap up the work order for this thing because we're starting this project in the morning and the day got away from me. I'm going to need half an hour to an hour
Sure.
at some
Yeah.
point tonight, honey. When would that work the best? Like,
Nice.
don't just disappear and do it. Like have that because then your spouse is going to now have more respect for you because you're respecting them.
For sure.
Kids.
Communication, man.
Yeah.
Speaking from a married man, like I think I'd love to hear that last point, man, because I think the entrepreneurial ride, if no one's done it, it's like no other. But the listeners are in it right now. You need a spouse, man, that I call it can like bump and slide. Like shit just come like not every day is a hurricane, but there you hit it on the head, man. There's seasons in spring, everything's popping off, and dinner for 5 o'clock. Like I'm actually gonna be home 6:30, right? Like it's gonna happen. So I think you nailed it, man, with communication. But having that aligned spouse, I think for the young, a lot of men listening, like get that right best you can, because that is it's someone I saw a quote, Tom. It said your spouse is effectively your life's co-founder. I'm like, man, is that well said? That's how tight it is.
Yeah. And listen, you can't expect your spouse or anyone else for that matter to read your mind. Like your intention is like, oh, I'm just going to go do this in the office real quick. Instead, go, hey, babe, I got something to work on real quick. Half an hour tops, but I really need to check this box. So are we cool? She's like, yeah, we're cool. Like she gets it. And so the other thing you mentioned, like you see my shit on Instagram and stuff. And overall, I hate social media, which is funny because I do a shit ton of it. What you guys are seeing on social media is everyone's highlight reels.
Yeah.
Like if you open your phone up as a new entrepreneur and you see like, oh, here's this 27-year-old who's got 3 Ferraris, and all this other shit, right? Guys, it's not the full story. I could give you story after story of people you probably know and follow on social media that I know what's under the hood. I know what's going on in their business, their life, their relationships, their bank account. And they are just showing the best side of themselves to everybody. They make it look like they never work and they fly private jets everywhere and all this other shit. When the reality is entrepreneurship, it's kind of insanity if you think about it, right? You're giving birth to something. And having a baby, making a baby's fun. Having the baby, raising the baby, taking care of the baby when it's sick, it's got a runny nose, it won't sleep. They punch a kid at school. Now you got to go to the principal's office, all this other shit. That's the hard work. And it's not for everybody. Neither is entrepreneurship. It is hard. And if it's not hard, I think you are, you're not really doing it right.
Yeah, I agree.
And when I mean hard, I mean like building Simplified Painting for me right now is a piece of cake. But when I'm working on it, I work about 16 hours a week on it. Training my sales guy, training, our new PM and all this other shit. And I'm slowly backing out after 6 months now. I'm working extremely hard for bursts of time, but it's not like this grind all the time. And it's because I have the wisdom of doing this in the past so many times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
you've already bought those skills. You got them.
But you're still working hard. You're going to have stress. You're going to wonder, like, shit, the phone hasn't rang in 2 days. What's going on? Like, these are all the things you never shut it off. There's probably, 1% of entrepreneurs that can shut it off at night, like a 9 to 5 thing. I don't know
Yeah.
any of those people, but,
Same.
um, but anyone that's telling you like building a business is easy or just hire my marketing company and you're going to have 700 leads a month and three starting in a month,
Yeah.
that's bullshit. It doesn't happen that way. You're going to have to be a student of the game. I was a football coach for years. Like you have a game plan, you go into it, and then the kickoff happens, and or like Mike Tyson says, everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're going to get punched in the face every day, and you can either learn from those things and change behavior and mindsets and habits and whatever, or you can just keep repeating the same mistakes over and over again and hope that it gets better, but it won't. So, yeah, that's one of the biggest things I hate about like Instagram is all that fake entrepreneurship stuff because it's not real.
Yeah, man, because
Like,
you've
listen,
got the
like you look
you've got
at
the
it, like,
decades.
yeah, you got James Clear's book behind you. You got Dan Martell's
Yeah.
book behind you. You got all those books on there.
Yeah.
Tommy Mello's book is behind you, and Tommy's a good buddy of mine, and this and that. I'm telling you, like, I don't care who the business owner is, they have cash flow ups and downs. They have problems with employees, right? We look at the Hermosis and the Mellos and all these guys of the world, and we think, oh my God, they just walk into the office every day. Everyone's farting baby powder and high fiving each other, right? And that's
Yeah.
not the case. Like, there's, if you work for or with or employ people, you will have problems.
Yep.
People that underperform and need coaching. You will have, I mean, I just screwed the pooch. We just did a cabinet job. I bid it at a 60% gross profit, but I underbid it. There was some elements to it. It's a long story. I should have known better. I made a couple of assumptions. We ended up doing it. The project's amazing. We walked away with like a 33% on the thing. I feel sick to my stomach, but it's on me.
Sure.
So just because somebody's like got a big business or millions of dollars doesn't mean they have it all fucking figured out.
Yep.
They're dealing with the same things you guys are dealing with at $500,000 a year. I can promise you that. It's just bigger scale.
Yeah. I love it, man, because I think it hits on we'll wrap up, but that I think it's called happiness destination. I'll be happy when I hit 7 figures or hit 10 million or whatever it is. But it's like every level is hard. Choose your hard. And I love, man, you've got the decades of wisdom now you're just spitting of like, if something doesn't quite, if it looks too good to be true, it probably is. And it's just generally you see that, man. If a property is $2 million, it's for sale for 500 grand. Like there is some kind of bullshit underlying story that it's on you to try weave it and figure it out. So I love just how hard hitting you ended the show with that, man. Cause I think, you don't love social media, but there's a huge benefit to it with your businesses and a content strategy. So it's kind of a necessary evil, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah, I hate it. I hate it, and I'm always on it.
Yeah.
I'm on it because I make money, honestly, and it's part of building your brand in 2025, and it isn't going away. So, yeah, and you can outsource shit. I'm not a fan of outsourcing social media, like an outside company, like social media managers and shit like that.
It's you.
Just like, oh, we got you 18 likes on the post. I'm like, I can't cash the like at the bank, So
so true.
And I think most people, they don't do social media well. They're not real. They're not authentic. Their ego is in the way. I welcome the day where I don't ever have to go on social media again, but
till then we'll keep grinding it.
It is what it is.
Yeah, man. Well, let's wrap, Tom. Thanks so much for coming by. We're going to link up to the contractor fight, but I'd love for you to direct people to maybe one place if they're just hearing maybe about you or caught you on the Jobber podcast. Like where's the best place for someone kind of top of funnel, just learning about Tom and contractor fight to get plugged in more?
We have so many resources. I think, I would encourage you, obviously you can go to thecontractorfight.com, right? That's our website. But if you go to thecontractorfight.com/cheap, we have kind of a cheat sheet there for people that are tired of spending time in the sales process with tire kickers.
Nice.
People that ghost you, and we kind of give you some tactics so you can identify the real buyers from the liars. And,
Nice.
elevating yourself, differentiating yourself in the sales process, because, sales is the lifeblood, right? If you can't,
Yeah.
if you're getting a lot of leads right now and you're not selling what you need to sell, then it's usually a training issue. So I would
Sure.
encourage people to go to contractorfight.com/cheap.
Cheat. Done, man. We'll link that up, and I'll probably link up your podcast too, man. I think for podcast listeners, these guys are in the truck, they're driving around. I think another great audio resource I think would be killer. So I think we'll link that one up too, just for some further value for these listeners.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. When it comes out, we'll share the show with our network and stuff, introduce them to you, and help a bunch of your peeps as well. So I appreciate it.
You bet, brother. Have a great rest of your day, Tom. Thanks for coming on.
You got it.